Hey everyone, it's Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and we've got the first youth football coach for 2025. The Carolina Panthers honoree this week. The man in the other box is Chris Evans. He's here to talk about a very nice award put out by Pop Warner and American Youth Football. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for the award too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're very proud to honor you. And before we get into that award, we'll save that for last. We're going to get into a little bit about you and getting into the sport of coaching. What I found interesting is, yeah, you're coaching the 9 and 10-year-olds there in the Charlotte area, but you're also coaching high school football. How the
Yeah.
heck do you find the time?
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's fun. What's crazy is still some of the conversations I have with the 9, 10-year-olds I have with the high school guys too. So it's just all about developing. So yeah.
I was going to ask you that question about the difference in language. You've got those kids that should know what they're doing, and well,
Y-
hopefully you'll have a little pipeline there, right, at some point,
That
so then
that's that's
what
the
Coach
hopes.
what Coach Evans was saying early on stuck with him. But you played college ball yourself. You're from
Yep.
Western Pennsylvania. You played collegiately at Ohio University. Tell me a little bit about what got you into the profession of coaching.
Actually, I had a nephew here. I moved to the area in 2006 and looked over, seen a Steelers banner, had a little young nephew, and then I told my wife probably a couple months later she was pregnant with my oldest now. I said, "Oh, we won't even have to change our gear." Because usually with kids, you might have to wear some cowboy stuff and things like that. But it was perfect. So just got into it, just wanted to help. Um, go to a couple practices and you see, no big ego or anything. I'm just trying to help them with the bags and things like that. And then they
Mhm.
ask, do you want to help? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. So it's a fun feeling, watching these kids over the years. Now some of them are having kids now,
Uh-huh.
so that makes me feel old. Um, but yeah, so just watching them develop and become young men is tremendous. So
Yeah, I can only imagine. One of the things that I find when I talk to coaches around the country, right, when you're, as I like to say, the knucklehead, right, the young
mhm.
teenager, you know everything, but then all of a sudden, you got the whistle around your neck instead of listening to that whistle being blown at you. What were
Yeah.
some of the things you had to transition into to become the coach you are 2 decades later?
Just
I didn't mean to
realizing
make you feel
yeah,
old.
yeah, I feel seasoned, more seasoned. Um, just realizing that, yeah, I was a kid once, and everyone, even with parents, you think that you don't want to hear everything your parents have to say. So I kind of put myself in their shoes and I tell them like, would you want the answers to the test? Well, I'm giving you the answers to the test. Little things like that. Just like, they'll say, "Oh, coach, my fault." I'm like, "I know." But we're just going to learn from it. Just trying to get on their level. It's changed over time, with kids. But it's fun because it keeps me on my toes though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the people that made an impact in your life growing up, whether it was, a coach as a player or a coach you might emulate now. You come from, pretty good stock there. You played collegiately, Western PA. We got a couple of PA people here on,
Yeah.
on this
Yep.
interview. Tell me a little bit about people that made a difference in your life.
First, I was one of the youngest cousins. So a lot of my cousins, they played football. Then going into high school, our coach, Neil Gordon, was that big staple at Penn Hills High School where I went. Just the way he coached and got on us. It was tough love.
Hmm.
But just developing, building that confidence in you, building that pride. That was a big thing as far as having pride, what we do. Then transitioning to college. Started out with Tom Lichtenberg. He was at Ohio State previously, and then we got Jim Grobe, who ended up retiring, finishing at Wake Forest and Baylor. Just those guys, because we played in a mid-major, but just to want to compete, with the big boys, so quote unquote, just the opportunity to compete and go after, even though whatever size we were, was going to go get it. So that was so that's what I try to present to all the kids now, even the young ones, even when it was weighted, when it was not, now it's not weighted, in the youth football and us
Hmm.
being a 1A, last year was a 1A school, we're playing 4A schools and things like that. It's not a big deal. They can have 88 kids. What I tell them, they can have 88 kids on the sideline. They got to put 11 out. and we got to put 11 out. So let's go get it.
It's
Stuff like
simple
that.
math. It's
Yep.
simple math. No doubt about that. Well, we are, this is a youth award here, but we should, let you brag a little bit there. Charter school that you're at right now at the high school ranks, and you won a state championship
No,
last
we
year.
we lost
Oh,
in the
you lost. I'm
championship.
sorry, but
Correct.
you got
That's
there. You got there.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
This year.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, just
Yep.
the fact that you played for it, and you did play a good program too. One of
Yep.
one of the best small schools in the state of North Carolina. But go ahead, brag a little bit. It's still, there's only two people to get to a state championship,
That's
right?
true. That's true. But when you're sitting in it, it's a sour grape. I felt like a little kid. I was, couldn't get out of bed the next morning. But it was a good, for it to be a 3-year program too.
Hmm.
We did have kids that were high school never played football, and I was still coaching my youngest son, where those kids are 5 to 7 years old and they never played football. So those conversations were still the same. So being a youth coach as far as the fundamentals and things like that, you have to put that in high school. As I tell the kids, it's not Madden. Like Madden doesn't give you like when you're tired and things like that. You can't get that on Madden. So you kind of go through the grind. So it was good. And we had a couple kids that we had coached since they were 6. My son was one of them. Couple of my nephews. So they got it, and and we were able to lead through it. It was bittersweet though. Like the last game and it got to the champs. You can look back on it now like, that would have been the icing on the cake. But I mean, it was a great, now we back at it again. So now it's like a whole new team. So now we're starting all over again, a lot of young guys. So again, still having those same conversations, but it's going
Yeah,
good.
well, I through the years I've got to know a lot of great high school coaches that have a lot of wins,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5,
Hmm.
600 wins, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. Well, one of my good friends has 600 of them. He's heading toward the top spot. But my point is, whenever I interview them and we're talking about things, I'm like, well, what's your favorite win? You remember any of those losses? Every one of them.
Every one of them. Every
No
one
doubt
of them.
about that. Hey, you
Yep.
mentioned your children. Your oldest, as you said, was kind of born to play football. I guess you taking the
Yeah.
coaching
Yeah.
job there. But how about some tips? Because a lot of people that do coach at the youth level are coaching their kids. What about some tips for people like that?
You just got to meet them where they're at. Like my oldest, it's different with my young one because he sat around and he watched it even in the high school. He's sitting around, he's soaking it all up. So he'll be 10 next week. His journey was different than my first because him being the first. So, you had to really break it down and you got to have patience. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's just wherever he's at and just, you're building forward when you get to high school. So, I guess I played offensive line, so he played offensive and defensive line. You don't get a lot of the glory, but you do learn how to deal with contact and things like
Hmm.
that. So my youngest, he plays quarterback now, but he started out he was playing guard, so he embraces the contact. You know what I mean? So as you go on, um, we'll see if he gets as big as I am, but so. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's that and just, teaching the whys of everything, as
Hmm.
far as kids, you just never assume that they know everything or anything, even if they came from a different program, because, you just never know what all they're being taught, things like that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What about dad coach? How have you handled that separation, right? When you leave the practice field and you go home for dinner or dinner before you go to whatever it may be. How do you handle that? What are any nuggets there for that? The best way to handle it?
So luckily, our head coach now, one of my best friends, he had a son first. So
Okay.
he always told her like, drop it at the car. Because you still want to talk about it at the car. So you still want to have that relationship. So I took that I took heed to what he said. It's just, you kind of have to balance. And then when you get home with mom, she wants to cuddle, things like that. So, you know, it was okay. So once getting that advice though to drop it at home, and I just
Yeah.
try to, let it go. Little things, and it's not like what he did. It was just about, how we're playing and the effort. Like that conversations with my young one when he was younger was just about effort. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you get the effort up, and then now the conversations change. So once we got that, and it was all good.
Yeah. And remember, you're being coached by your wife slash mom who wants to cuddle. So
Exactly.
you got to follow what coach is telling you too. So
So having those conversations with her, with them too. So now she's a pro at it now, but in the beginning,
co-coach is there on that, no
yep,
doubt about that. Hey, as we go away here, let's go to the award itself. And before I get to the award, all of the NFL teams are really digging down into the roots of the game. All of the teams have their coach of the week at the high school level and all that. This is a new thing that we're doing with the youth coach of the week. But what's it mean to you as a guy that played at a pretty high level of football to know that the top of it, the Sunday guys, are reaching down into the roots, whether it's high school or down into the youth level?
yeah, very appreciative. To even think of us. Um, it's an honor, especially I guess it's now being new too as
Yeah,
well. But just that they could really think about and appreciate what we've done. Because it does start there. Of course, everyone is watching them. Um, and you have to, as a coach, have to decipher like you're not in the NFL. You know what I mean? So like when I'm talking to parents at the beginning, I'm like, no one's coming to give you a Division I offer. Nobody's coming to give you an offer while we're here on Saturday. If
yeah,
somebody's a recruiter, then that's because they just happen to be visiting. But no, it's a great honor. I'm appreciative. I've watched the Panthers too. It's my second team.
yeah. I know.
But
I heard
I've
what you said. You're a Western PA guy. Come
Oh
on,
yeah, yeah,
I get
Pittsburgh.
you.
Yeah. But watching them and watching over the years, because I've been here in Charlotte for 23 years. So I've watched the organization grow. And just for them to be able to look down on us and just show some kudos to us, is very appreciative, thankful.
Yeah, and now I'll let you, kind of, as I say, give a little coach speak when you win things. You want to kind of give it out there, but it does have your name on it, the award and all that. But
Okay.
what does it mean? Like you said, you kind of just got into it 23 years ago. Is that well, somewhere along that
Yeah.
line, right? A couple of decades. What does it mean to be recognized in this regard?
Of course, being a former O lineman, just never look for recognition, but it's truly appreciative that they're looking at, what I've done over the years. I don't do it for the hoopla. I just do it to watch the develop young men, because they're going to be dads one day, and things like that. I will argue anybody to say football is that is the ultimate team sport,
Is
and it is the most simulated adversity that you can give a kid, no matter what their circumstances and backgrounds are. So I fight that tooth and nail.
yeah.
Not saying that I didn't like other sports, but when going through it, but yeah, so it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
So
there's so many people I talk to in the real world nowadays,
yep,
in the business
yep,
world, that talk about how they, to this day, use what they learned on the football field
yep.
to run a business or work in a business or whatever it may be. And I'm sure you agree with that. Well, congratulations, Coach. You
Thank
are
you.
the very first. There's never going to be another first.
Okay, I appreciate it.
So congrats on the award. Take care.
Thank
Have
you.
a great season this year.
All right, thanks.